Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
They
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Black men and women have rallied behind Vice President Kamala Harris's presidential campaign. Now, a white woman says It's time for white women to stand up as well. I'll talk to Shannon Watts about her focus to win with white women campaign started. Can't look forward to that conversation. Speaking of the vice president, she was on the campaign trail today as she picked up two major endorsements from Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. The family of a black Illinois woman who called for help and she ended up being murdered by sheriff's deputies. That deputy is now facing murder charges. We'll show you the body cam footage of when Sonya Massey was killed in her own home. The president of the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives will talk about this tragic, tragic case. Folks, it's time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Last night, nearly 54,000 black men signed up for our Win with Black Men call. Nearly 19,000 donors contributed $1.4 million. This followed the day after black women had 45,000 women on a call, raised in excess of $2 million. This is all because of the energy surrounding Vice President Kamala Harris seeking Democratic nomination. Now, Latinos and white women say, guess what? It is time for us to unify. Shannon Watts, founder of Moms Demand, posted this on social media. She said, time to organize a white women's conference call like the black women and men have. They have to support Vice President Kamala Harris. Who's in? Well, Shannon joins us right now. Shannon, glad to have you back on Roland Martin Unfiltered. So you saw this energy going on and you posted a series of tweets that I thought were so important, where you said, white women, it's time for us to step up.
Well, Roland, thank you so much for having me on. But more than that, thank you for all of your amazing work and your leadership on this. It's truly been, informative. We stand on your shoulders. We stand on the shoulders of Win with Black Women. There was a clarion call on that call with so many black women and then so many black men, and that was, white women, it's your turn. And it is our turn to use our economic power, our political power, to make sure that Kamala Harris wins. And it's a little bit more than that, too, which is, we all know white women haven't been voting the right way. They haven't been voting to protect all Americans instead of their own communities and their own families. And they need to get outside of their bubble. We have voted for the Republican presidential candidate in every single presidential race except for two since the 1950s. So we have a lot of catching up to do. And I think we can do that when we come together to support the movement as a whole. So this is one initial call that we're hosting on Thursday night to, again, tap into the economic and political power of white women, to educate them and to deploy them to help Kamala Harris win. But at the end of the day, we are all one movement.
One of the things that jumped out as I was listening to you talk, and I go back, 2016, 52% of white women voted for Donald Trump. After all the things that he said and all the things that he did, that number went up in 2020.
Yeah.
What do you think? What is going on?
Well, we live in a racist, sexist society. We know that. And unfortunately, when you have someone who is a fearmonger like Donald Trump, who lies and who pretends as though, he is helping people when he's actually hurting them. And then you combine that with women who are white women who are steeped in this patriarchy and this racism, then it's sort of the recipe for electoral disaster. And that's what we saw in those election cycles. It is incumbent, though, I think, on white women who voted the right way to galvanize, educate, and convert that other 52% or so of white women who did not vote the right way. And that happens in our communities. That happens in our homes. That happens in conversations with our fathers and brothers and sons, to push back and to be independent thinkers and independent voters. And it is also about making sure when we're at the grocery store or we're at childcare or we're dropping off and picking up our kids, we aren't shying away from these conversations. We are thinking about and talking about the destruction and havoc a Trump presidency would wreak. And it really is, if we can shift even just some of these women who voted the wrong way the last time and bring them back and get them to help support Kamala Harris, we win. But I think, yes, we need those women who voted the wrong way to vote the right way, but we also need the women who voted the right way to do the work. This isn't going to happen if you make one donation. It's not going to happen if you have one conversation, if you show up for one call. You have to be in this for the long haul and know it doesn't end even the day after Kamala Harris is elected president. We have to keep doing the work. Alice Walker said, activism is the rent I pay to live on the planet. And it's something that we as white women need to get out of our bubble and get used to doing.
Well, the other day, unfortunately, the man who was killed at the Donald Trump rally, when his wife talked, she said that President Joe Biden reached out, but she wouldn't take his phone call. She said because her husband was a hardcore Republican and he wouldn't want her to do that. And I remember seeing some comments from white women saying, see, this is the problem. We have a lot of white women who literally just do whatever their husbands tell them to do. Yes. And I've heard that a lot, that husband says we're voting this way, we're voting this way. You agree with that?
Well, I think it's egregious. So I don't agree with it in that sense, but I do agree that that is what happens sometimes. Brittany Packnett-Cunningham has this amazing quote about white women who sort of do the bidding of white men. And, it is that the patriarchy won't save you. Your whiteness won't save you from what the patriarchy has in store for you, right? Like, if you think that voting the way your husband votes is going to somehow help and protect you, it's absolutely not true. In fact, look what happens with Donald Trump as president. Look what's happened at the Supreme Court. Look what's happened to our reproductive rights and freedoms. Look what's happened to our safety when it comes to gun violence. President Biden has done an amazing job of trying to protect people, but so much damage was done and so much more destruction will happen if we vote Donald Trump into office again. So this idea that somehow you are protected if you vote the way a white man tells you to vote, is so incredibly misguided. And I think, again, that white women who are on the right side of this issue are very well equipped to have those conversations of conversion. We know these women, right? We're friends with them. We're their daughters. We're their sisters. We're, in their neighborhood. And we have to be uncomfortable. We have to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
What has been the response so far from your clarion call?
It has been overwhelming. I think there's a real feeling, particularly among Black women, of like, okay, it is your time to shine. Come together, do what we have done on these calls, and then, don't organize yourself separately as white women. Don't create an organization. Don't make this the movement. Have this moment, have this call, do what we have done, and then let's come together to make sure that Kamala Harris wins. And that's exactly what we intend to do. In fact, there's talk after this call that we're having, and you mentioned other calls, Latino women and Southeast Asian women and on are all having similar discussions where they're raising money and educating. Then we all come together and, really do the work, roll up our sleeves, and in the next 100 days, elect Kamala Harris as president.
You're absolutely right. We have seen the information. Anna Navarro was on the Black Women Win with Black Women call and she was like, hey, y'all need to help us Latinas to do this. Well, guess what? That call is actually taking place, and that's actually happening tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, and they sent that out, though. So it's just very interesting just watching the energy. But what it also says, Shannon, it also says somebody has to start it. I always talk about movements, and the reality is you founded Moms Demand, and listen, y'all went from this to this. And what I'm always saying is a movement has to start with one person and one idea who tells another person, who tells another person, who tells another person, then it exponentially grows. And that's really what happened here. Those black women, they've been meeting for 4 years.
Yep.
Now, I know that because I know many of those women, and I know they've been meeting every Sunday night. And all of a sudden, that thing, and even they said they were not prepared for that thing to go viral. Normally, their meeting is closed and off the record, and they were just shocked and stunned how viral it went. And then, of course, brothers, when they called me and said, hey, man, we got to do something. Then that happened on Monday. And now you're seeing this. But this is what I'm always trying to explain to people. No movement begins without an idea, and that's what we mean by taking a moment and turning into a movement.
Yes, that's exactly right. And you mentioned the word energy. I am old enough to remember what it felt like when I knew that Barack Obama was going to be the candidate and the president. This feels very much like that. It feels like such a historic moment, such a novel moment given the way we got here. And I think we can ride this energy all the way to November and handily elect Kamala Harris. But as you said, everybody needs to have this idea. It isn't just me or any woman or any person who decides we're going to create this big movement to support people. That matters, but maybe not even as much as the little movements in your life, right? The decision to have the conversation with the woman who voted for Donald Trump last time, and to have an open conversation to try to persuade that person or your family or whoever it is. Like, those little micro movements are just as important as the big movements, because you never know when your words will stick with someone and help change their minds. And that includes knocking doors, making calls, sending postcards, doing what I call the unglamorous heavy lifting of grassroots activism. That is how Kamala Harris will win. It is not by white women sitting on the sidelines.
Shannon Watts, we appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
All right, got to go to a break. We come back, chat with our panel. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds. As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Good job, good pay, good life. Would you be willing to walk away from it to achieve real wealth? Well, that's exactly what this woman did, and boy, did it pay off.
Once you make the decision that this is the direction that you're going to go in, I do believe that there's power in having a decided heart.
Hear her story on The Next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, on Black Star Network.
Bruce Smith, creator and executive producer of The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, we are seeing tremendous, as we said, energy taking place all across the country. And as a result of the change on Sunday when President Joe Biden announced that he was not going to be seeking the re-election, it has been a remarkable 2.5 days for Vice President Kamala Harris as she held an event today, as she, of course, spoke to the campaign staff on yesterday, as we see what is happening over and over and over. And it has been blowing folks away. I just saw an email where Reed Hastings, the founder of Netflix, has contributed $7 million to a super PAC. Those major Democratic donors have ponied up almost $200 million since Sunday evening. And of course, the small donors, more than $100 million raised through Act Blue, and 62% of all those dollars, first-time donors. My panel is Randy Bryant, DEI disruptor out of Washington, D.C., Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali, former senior advisor for environmental justice at the EPA in Washington, D.C., Joy Cheney, founder of Joy Strategies out of D.C. I'm going to start with you, Joy. When you, again, look at that intensity from that Win with Black Women call. And then you see the call that took place on last night with the brothers. 53,000 brothers. Matter of fact, let me get the correct number. Let me see here. The number of actual participants, 53,862. Folks would be shocked at that number, Joy.
You know, they would be shocked by that number, but we are not. First of all, Roland, you called them, so they were coming. But Joteka, Edie, and Holly Holiday called Black women beforehand, 4 years ago. And when they called, they didn't know who was coming. I think they started with 20 or so people. I joined about a year in, and we've been meeting ever since. We've met through Ketanji Brown Jackson. We've met through, Kamala Harris. We've met over and over again, and now we are meeting as she is moving into the role of Democratic nominee. It's just an example of you just have to go out there on faith and then know that if you're doing the right thing and you're creating a space, that people are going to answer. If you build it, they will come. And that is what has happened. And now we're seeing our Latina sisters, our white sisters, our Asian American sisters come. We're seeing, hopefully, our brothers of all those nationalities come as well. Anyone who's seeking to separate us is going to make a mistake this time. As Ms. Watts had on Shannon before, this is feeling awfully like Obama. And earlier on, we are ready. This is the moment our nation has been waiting on.
Here's the thing here. Here's the thing here for me, Mustafa, that just really jumps out. People are waiting to act. And I guess I think about the movie Field of Dreams, that iconic phrase, if you build it, they will come. And what I'm always trying to say to people is that stop complaining about we need this, we need that. Start it. Start it. And once you start it and you tell some other people, you never know how it's going to blow up. And that, to me, I think is one of the big problems here, Mustafa. People are afraid to start. They're afraid to. Jamal Bryant said something the other day who was the Bahamian pastor who passed away in the airline crash? It's escaping me. Miles Monroe. He said Miles Monroe would often say, the place in the world with the greatest ideas is the cemetery, because so many people were afraid to actually live their dreams out.
That's powerful. You know, I'm reminded also, Sam Jackson says, why don't you raise a ruckus and you can make a change? You might not be popular, but by the end of the day, you'll be able to see how things have actually moved forward. You know, last night was incredible. The night before was incredible. I was blessed to be able to listen in a little bit.
Man, it was crazy. So my man Keenan just hit me and said, people are still registering and watching the replay on StreamYard. So we've added an additional 1,100 folks who've registered. That's crazy. Go ahead.
There's a hunger, right? There is a hunger in our community and beyond our community to make real change happen and to be a part of it. And often folks do wait until somebody lights the match, if you will, that initial flame to get folks going. You know, when I was, it was amazing because I hadn't felt this way in a long time. The last time I did, I was a student organizer for a Million Man March. And when we were in that sea of blackness, of all these amazing black men who were committing to their community to do the things that were necessary to make change happen, was one of those moments in the not so distant past. And then last night, to once again to be surrounded by all of these folks who are committed in action, committed in actually making and giving resources. And y'all know who are watching this show, to get black folks to give up their money means that they got to feel and know that there is something real that's right there. And you could feel that energy. But it wasn't just about energy. It was about actually taking tangible actions and strengthening those black men's organizations who are actually out there on the ground, knocking on doors and talking to folks, making sure the resources make it to the vice president so that she has what she needs to deal with all the things that are going to come to her. But as you said before, it all starts with that first person who says, you know what, we can do this, and reaching your hands out. And, you know, I wrote that poem that a whole bunch of people have talked about today, where you've got these black men in that moment who are interlocking their hands, placing their arms virtually around each other and saying, no matter what comes, we are going to stand with this sister. We are going to protect her. We're going to uplift her. And yes, once she is elected, we are going to hold her accountable. But in this moment, we demand to make sure that she has the opportunity to become the next president of the United States. And we are going to play a significant role. And our sisters who actually helped to lead us by being the first out the door, planted the seed. And then we're going to continue to water that seed. So when others say that they want to be authentic allies in this space, you know, we welcome them. But of course, we are also going to keep our eyes open to make sure that if white women say that they are going to stand in solidarity, then we're going to check to see if that's real. For our Latino brothers and sisters, we're going to make sure the same thing. So it is a welcoming space where we all have the opportunity to actually make these ideals that America has talked about for hundreds of years become a reality by making sure that the next president of the United States is Kamala Harris.
What's interesting, Randy, is you already see the Republican Party, doing what they do. I saw this video where, and this representative from Tennessee always is showing how racist he is, and you got the usual people, and boy, these Republicans, you can't say the N-word publicly, but they sure can't say DEI, and so listen to Larry Kudlow on Fox talking to that idiot Senator Tommy Tuberville of Alabama. Watch this.
And of course, her whole history is DEI, diversity, exclusion, and equity. Can you hear me now? I mean, inclusion and equity. I mean, what does that tell you? It's totally woke and it's anti-cops, among all the other things, putting the economics aside. More DEI, defund the police, eliminate ICE, never even talk to the chiefs of the Border Patrol. I mean, really? How's she going to stand up to that?
Well, she's for globalization. She's for one world government.
she's for this country going the way of socialism, maybe even farther than that. There's no way the American people are going to go for that. They're going to have to do a great selling job, and she's going to have to change her tune, but she's not able to do that. She is from California. She believes in that nonsense that they've put that great state of California in, and we've seen what's happened there. They have put them under. We've bailed them out several times from the federal government. So it's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard because we know what we're fighting is trying to get President Trump across the finish line. But thank God he's safe, and let's go.
Thank you, sir. Senator Tommy
Tuberville. They are just, I mean, they are just going on and on and on, Randy. And again, Tim Burchett, that's who it is. I'm going to try to find his little comment. And it's the usual little nonsense that they trying to play.
Absolutely. I mean, DEI is the new N word. And there is this assumption that if a woman or a person of color has made it to any level of success, that it must be something that was granted to them and something that they do not deserve, which is based on white supremacist ideals. It's insulting, as I have watched the last 72 hours and what's been going on. And of course, I'm reading the insults thrown.
In fact, hold on, Randy. I want you to finish your point, but I want to play you what Burchett had to say. So listen to this.
Biden said, first off, he said he's going to hire a black female for vice president, and that he just skipped over. What about white females? What about any other group? It just, when you go down that route, you take mediocrity, and that's what they have right now as a vice president.
So are you suggesting she was a DEI hire?
100%. She was a DEI hire. He said he was going to hire, and she didn't. Her record is abysmal at best.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, whatever, Tim Burchett. Go right ahead.
Right. And again, I mean, it is so interesting to me that white men are immediately assumed to have the qualifications. How people who have a felon and almost a failed businessman as their leader could dare suggest that highly accomplished Kamala Harris as a DEI hire is incredibly insulting, but it certainly is not new. This is what we Black people face every single day. That it's not that we're good enough, no matter how much education we have and no matter how much experience that we have. And so that's something that we're going to have to confront on this campaign. But it's easy because the differences between the two candidates is large and grand. So I'm going to enjoy tearing people apart when it comes to this. It's a strategy that they're using, but I believe that it's a flimsy strategy because she's too strong. So it's going to be, kind of fun tearing them apart, particularly when you consider the candidate they have. But it's the same old. We saw what happened with the FBI leader. Every time, it's always a DEI failure and decision. And even when they say, what did she do as vice president for Biden? I never heard anyone ask, what did Biden do when he was president for Obama?
Or Pence, wait a minute, or Pence, or Quayle, or Gore, or Cheney. I mean, again, that's what's so hilarious to me. Everybody knows that the vice president's job is really you just the next in waiting. I mean, come on. But this whole, oh my God, she's been horrible. Her policies, but she serves at the behest of the president.
Absolutely. That is it. But we're going to be scrutinized more critically and harshly just for the simple fact that she is a woman and that she is of color.
All right. Hold tight 1 second. Got to go to a break. We come back. More on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Don't forget, support the work that we do. Join our Brina Funk fan club. Send your check and money order. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
Curl Prep Natural Hair Solutions at curlprep.com.
I'm in shock.
For curls, locks, braids, twists, and even those wigs and extensions. Women, men, and children are loving this line. Look at this video and you be the judge. People line up to see this product in action at hair shows, and when they take a seat and try it, they don't believe it's their hair. Buy the products at curlprep.com. It works on all hair types. Use code ROLAND, that's R-O-L-A-N-D, lowercase letters, to get a 15% discount. Parents, remove the ouch. You will love this system because you can comb the product through your child's hair with your fingers. It's all at curlprep.com. Use code ROLAND, lowercase letters, to get a 15% discount.
On a next, A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie. How are you being of service to others? Doing for someone beside yourself is such a big part of living a balanced life. We'll talk about what that means, the generation that missed that message, and the price that we're all paying as a result.
Well, now all I see is mama getting up in the morning, going to work, maybe dropping me off at school, then coming back home at night. And then I really didn't have any type of time with the person that really was there to nurture me and prepare me and to show me what a life looked like and what service looked like.
That's all on a next, A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, here at Black Star Network.
Hey, what's up? Geek Tony in the place to be. Got Cake Touch at Mama's University, creator and executive producer of Fat Tuesdays, the air hip-hop comedy. But right now, I'm rolling with Roland Martin, unfiltered, uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable. You hear me?
Before I go to my next guest, you can always count on black people doing extra stuff. So when I'm playing video from my iPad, so when you're on Twitter, what happens is you play the video straight. So normally we download the video, but listen, we rocking and rolling. You can just play the video straight on Twitter. Now Twitter used to, when you played the video, it will stop at the end of the video. Well, they changed their algorithm, so now it just jumps to whatever the next video. So when I played that Tim Burchett bite, the next video was two big asses. Actually, it looked like four hams. And it was Jonathan Slocum, the comedian, who of course sent me a text message where he said, be careful, bro. Go to my iPad. And so he took a screenshot of him watching the show on his Mac computer. And I was like, Jonathan, this is how this works. I said, but don't worry about it. I said, watch this. It's coming up next. So I think this was really Jonathan just trying to get a shout out on the show. So Jonathan, you got it. All right. I've said here many times that Vice President Kamala Harris is the weapon the Democrats needed. Now that she is headed to become the presidential nominee, it looks like I, along with others, was right. Author and columnist Steve Phillips published this article, Running Kamala Harris May Actually Be a Political Masterstroke for the Democrats. He's the author of Brown is the New White and How We Win the Civil War. He joins us from San Francisco. Okay, Steve, why do you say it's a masterstroke?
So it's great to be with you, Roland, and you were 100% right on Kamala being the one. Lost in this, the concern about the polls, everyone's talking about how badly Biden was doing in the polls, et cetera, is that ironically or interestingly, his numbers with white people were fine. He had 42% support among whites in the CBS poll that had him down 4 or 5 points.
And that was the thing that I kept emphasizing. A week after the debate, my man Terrence Woodbury, the top pollster, sent me this text message. To that point, I'm gonna let you finish that, Steve, but I want to. So he sent me this. I'm trying to pull it up. We were talking about his numbers, and he said, I think Biden still can win this. Mm-hmm. He said, Democrats got to stop trashing their own candidate. But what he told me was what you just said about those white numbers. What he told me then was, everybody think I'm lying, this was July 12th. Mm-hmm. The debate was June 27th. He said, path to victory is clear. Biden is winning white seniors, white women, white college, white suburbs. That's about 70% of the electorate, and they are the hardest for Dems to win. Biden was doing better among white voters than Clinton, Hillary Clinton, and Barack Obama. And I said, my biggest concern, Steve, was if they force Biden off the ticket, will that white demographic hold? Now continue.
Exactly, and that is the challenge that we're going to have to look to. And so, but the reason it's a masterstroke is because if, in fact, as those polls were showing, that the percentages in support among people of color was low. They had people, African American support at like 73%. No Democratic nominee has ever gotten less than 83%. And so that was the underlying problem. And so you had Latinos down at like 50-something%. Biden got 65%. So if you can galvanize and mobilize and inspire the voters of color, shore that up, bring up the enthusiasm, that's going to bring the overall numbers back up significantly. I expect, based on this, what happened with the Black Women Call, the call you organized, the Black Men Call, and all these different pieces, I expect that Kamala is going to have Obama-like numbers among African Americans, which then gives you a little bit of wiggle room in terms of the white support. You can actually lose a little bit of the white support. You could really go down to around 39, 38%. Right. Obama got 39% in 2012 in his reelection, but he had such large black support that he was able to carry the day.
But I think what people need to understand, and again, this is, excitement is one thing, but I think the Dobbs decision is the wild card.
Yeah.
Here's what I mean. We had, of course, we just had Shannon Watts on, where she's like, white women, we got to step up. Right. So the reason I think the Dobbs decision changes what is historical, 52% of white women went for Donald Trump in 2016. The Dobbs decision has woken a lot of white women up.
Exactly.
School shootings has as well. Those white women in Tennessee, those women, they were calling mom's demand. Those white women were putting pressure on legislators. And so the unknown here is, with Vice President Kamala Harris centering reproductive rights, and we look at all of these special elections, these state referendums, this may be the year with her at the top that causes Republicans to lose less than 50%. If Democrats could shave off 3 points, white women, game over.
Right, 100%. That's what you're talking about. So Dobbs, that the progressive vote, the Democratic vote in the Kansas, in Ohio, places where Democrats never win, or at least Kansas rarely win, and Ohio very rarely win as well.
The right was stunned. And that's, Steve, that's why Donald Trump, no. I'm not going to have a national abortion ban. I'm not going to have it. They are scared to death of the post-Dobbs political fallout.
Exactly. And so if the progressive Democratic-backed policies are winning in places like Ohio and Kansas, then this is a different moment. And this is a different period in time, and that Dobbs has wakened people up. And so you take that as well as the larger cultural dynamics in terms of where, the place, the success of the movie Barbie, Beyonce, Taylor Swift. The culture is having more embrace of women's perspectives, women's point of view, women's independence. And so this really could be the moment to run a woman at the top of the ticket, and a woman of color on top of that is even an added benefit.
Questions from the panel. Randy, you first.
Hi, thanks for being here. What I am wondering when we talk about how we need to just get a small percentage of white women, what do you think the key is to that? I mean, just referencing back to the guests before, like, what do you think is going to make the difference in that now?
Well, I think that the Dobbs piece is the most promising aspect of that, and not only hopeful, but that's the evidence that we're seeing. In that the last time, we had a moderate Democratic governor in Kansas, but we don't win in Kansas, and so was that a one-off? Democrats have lost statewide, I think, almost every election since the last time Sherrod Brown ran in Ohio, statewide, and yet that ballot measure around women's reproductive freedom did extremely well and passed. So you take that, and then you juxtapose that with who we're running against. A man who is on tape bragging about grabbing women. A man who has been found civilly liable for sexual assault. A man who was found 34 criminal counts for paying off a porn star. And then you juxtapose that with this movement around women's rights and women's equality and women's bodily autonomy. That's a very sharp contrast that does give the opportunity to shave off some of that support among white women.
Go ahead.
I just hope that their memories are long, because it seemed as if there was a lot of rhetoric before the last election, but when it came down to voting, when it actually were more white women voting for Trump, I was absolutely surprised. So I hope that the campaign this year does a good job of reminding white women about Trump's history when it comes to, and Trump's, what his decisions are now when it comes to women.
Yeah, and I think it's actually going to be all of us. And so I think you've been talking about it on the show here, but those of us who were there early in the Obama years, in 2007 in particular, this is like that in terms of its feel, it's the movement cause, the intensity of it. And so that level of grassroots enthusiasm is going to also reverberate out and impact other white women, frankly. Well, be in a relationship with people that they have accountable to.
Well, I mentioned the white women call on Thursday.
Yes.
The Latina call tonight. Go to my iPad. South Asian women for Harris. They having a call tomorrow. I mean, so Steve, you're right. Again, you're seeing that momentum, how that ball is rolling. Joy.
Yeah, Mr. Phillips, I'm so glad you're on. I agree with so much what you're saying. I mean, my question for you is, yes, we want to count votes and we want to count constituencies, but how much of this is about us moving from yes, we would have won to us having to being able to blow it out of the ballpark so we can definitively put down this anti-American, anti-democracy, frankly, anti-holy campaign and movement of Donald Trump and MAGA. I feel like we got to do more than just barely squeaking it out. We would have taken it. But with Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket, we have the ability to put down what has really been a destructive movement in our nation. And frankly, what was creeping across the world, and other countries are putting it down, authoritarianism in their worlds, we got to do it in their countries and we got to do it in ours. And this is an opportunity for us to do it with Kamala.
Absolutely. There's so much. Isabel Wilkerson in her book Cast talks about comparing what happened with Trump in 2016 to a pathogen being unleashed. And that's what's happened in this country and within this world. And so if you've seen people like Elon Musk and other people and all these attacks on DEI, et cetera, they have been emboldened and empowered to give rise and give voice to their most pro-white sentiments in ways that people wouldn't have said before. But now to go up against a movement and a candidate who's a woman of color and who is talking about the diversity of the country, unifying people, not this division and hate, it's so inspiring that it is very much like 2008 in ways that Obama galvanized the electorate in ways that had large ripple effects. The House is in play. We really should take back. We should never have lost the House, frankly. The Senate, holding the Senate and then winning the White House, creates an opportunity not just to make history to elect Kamala to the White House, but to pass a policy agenda. All it takes is a majority vote in Congress and the signature of the president to expand the Supreme Court, which has been hijacked by Trump and by the right wing. And then you can move forward a whole significant agenda, a public policy agenda, which speaks to the growing multiracial majority and not to the reactionary and fearful minority. So the potential of what is possible, not just between now and November, but over the next 4 to 8 years is enormous.
That's right. That's right.
Folks, Mustafa.
Yeah, well, Mr. Phillips, thank you for your scholarship. I've had the chance to read a couple of your books, and then, of course, the most recent Guardian article. In the two previous conversations you've had with the panelists, I'm curious. We take a look back to Obama and him doing his due diligence and deciding who his vice president would be, and through that calculus, figuring out if it helped him to be able to garner the votes that were going to be necessary. What type of person would be necessary for Vice President Harris to be able to shore up these votes that we've been talking about here over the last few minutes?
So it's not going to be decisive. I mean, as we're seeing over the past, just 48 hours, the momentum and the movement and the transformative nature of Kamala's candidacy in and of itself, I actually believe is going to propel this candidacy and this ticket forward. And so we shouldn't get too hung up on that. So there's a very significant strategic calculation. And I don't frankly know which way to go with it, to be honest with you. It'd be interesting to see. So we can go the traditional route, which would really do what Obama did and choose more of a moderate white man to balance the ticket, calm the fears of white people, and to make a geographic play. So potentially somebody in the Midwest, et cetera. And some people are talking about Roy Cooper or Mark Kelly out of Arizona, right? Battleground state white guy.
Or Andy Beshear out of Kentucky, the governor.
Exactly, right. Andy Beshear, where J.D. Vance supposedly is from Appalachia, right? So that's one route. The other route is to do more what Bill Clinton did and double down on the gestalt of the moment. And so rather than balance his ticket, he went with another young white Southerner, which people thought was a crazy idea, but he rode the wave of that moment. And actually, I ran for office in the school board in '92, and I know that there was this generational call, this generational new leadership stepping forward attitude and mindset throughout the country. And so do you double down and choose a woman, and for all the reasons we were just talking about, and go full bore and really define that ticket on the Republican side as being the anti-women, anti-reproductive choice, anti-bodily autonomy people, which they are, and then ride this enthusiasm of women and potentially bring along more of the white women in that regard as well. I think either route is defensible, and I think either route will play out, frankly. And so it'll be interesting to see which calculation Kamala and her team makes.
Mr. Phillips, can I weigh in on that?
Go ahead.
So I was going to say, you know what? I think you're so right. The real story here is that we have very few bad options. We have very few bad options here. Many people were ready to vote for Joe Biden, but he's pulled out. Many more people, I think, are ready to vote for Kamala Harris. And then we have fantastic VP candidates, really a deep bench, and that was something that we did not have for a long time in Democrats. We have a deep bench. You want someone a little older, we got Roy Cooper. You want younger, we got Josh Shapiro, Andy Beshear. You want someone middle of the road who's a senator who has this Americana astronaut, we got Senator Kelly. And then we also, of course, have Gretchen Whitmer. She said she's pulling out, but you never know. You never know. We love that she is a campaign co-chair. There are no bad options here. What you know is that we're ready for something new as a nation. We're ready to move into a new era. And so that's what's so exciting. And people feel it, and you are right. It feels like when we elected Barack Obama. We're ready.
Yeah. And this isn't the main point, but we should, keep in mind, those of us who have a race-conscious analysis, that I think there's a lot to argue for Whitmer as the VP, and if she runs as VP, and if they win the White House, then the lieutenant governor of Michigan is Garland Gilchrist, an African-American, who would then become the governor of that state. If
they pick Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, lieutenant governor there is black. But here's what I love, Steve. I love the fact that when Obama picked Biden, and everybody kept saying, well, he needs a white man, he needs this, he needs that. Didn't nobody call that DEI? And ain't nobody saying it's DEI picking a white man right now. It's just interesting how they never call it DEI when it's white folk.
And then Trump choosing J.D. Vance, who is probably the least experienced person to ever be chosen for vice president. He's been in public office for 17 months, and you haven't heard anything about his lack of qualifications for the office. So, yes, there's very much a double standards and talking out of both sides of their mouth.
Absolutely. Steve Phillips, I appreciate it, sir. Thank you so very much.
Thanks for having me on, Roland. Great to see you.
All right, folks, we will be back right here. Talk more politics, but also we're going to talk about this shameful story out of Illinois. Black woman murdered in her own home by the cops because she was holding a pot of hot water. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Coming soon to the Black Star Network.
I still have my NFL contract in my house, having a case. It's 4 of them, for my 4-year contract. I got a $600,000 signing bonus. My base salary for that first year was $150,000. Matter of fact,
$150,000.
$150,000. That's what I made, $150,000. Now think about it. My signing bonus was a forgivable loan, supposedly. When I got traded to the Colts, they made me pay back my signing bonus to them. I had to give them their $600,000 back.
Wow.
Yeah, I was so pissed. Because, I try to be a man of my word. I'm like, you, I'll give you your money back. Even though I know I earned that money,
right.
I gave them their money back. I gave them $600,000 back. But yet, I was this malcontent. I was a bad guy. I'm about the money. It wasn't about the money. It was about doing right. Because I looked at, because you look at contract. Look at John Elway. John Elway was making $1 million, $800,000. I was making $150,000. I was doing everything. And I'm like, but yet I was, I got so many letters, so I just play for free and all that kind of stuff. You don't forget that kind of stuff.
Right.
That stuff is hurtful.
Hello, I'm Paula J. Parker. Truly proud on the Proud Family.
I am Tommy Davidson. I play Oscar on Proud Family, Louder and Proud.
Hi, I'm Jo Marie Payton, voice of Sugar Mama on Disney's Louder and Prouder, Disney Plus. And I'm with Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
LaShondra Follins has been missing from Minden, Louisiana since February 24th. The 17-year-old is 5 feet 5 inches tall, weighs 110 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. Anyone with information about LaShondra Follins should call the Minden, Louisiana Police Department at 318-371-4226, 318-371-4226. Folks, there's a stunning and shocking story out of Illinois. The body cam footage regarding the murder of 36-year-old Sonya Massey has been released. Folks, this shooting took place on July 6th after deputies with the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office responded to a call from her of a prowler. Charging documents indicate that Sean Grayson drew his gun and threatened to shoot Massey in the face. Grayson aggressively yelled for Massey to put down a pot of boiling water. As Grayson drew close to her, he fired 3 times, striking her once in the face. Grayson did not activate his body-worn camera until then, though another sheriff's deputy, who has not been named, had his activated after arriving at Massey's house. The entire video, folks, is 34 minutes. I saw the video last night, and even I had to turn away when I saw what was about to happen. So let me warn everyone right now. I don't want us to have to deal with this. But I need you to turn away if you do not want to see this video. Remember we had, was it Tiana Jefferson in Fort Worth, shot and killed in her own home? We've seen this for far too many times. So, roll the video.
Windows.
Oh, it was something that happened earlier.
Okay, perfect. What is your last name? Shouldn't have to think about your last name. Okay. You're not in trouble. I just need to
Massey. Massey.
Yeah. You have an ID? That makes things so much easier. I just need just a driver's license will do, and then I'll get out of your hair.
I want to show y'all my paperwork.
I will get your paperwork. What paperwork?
Okay. I got some paperwork.
Well, just get your ID. Well, let's get your ID first, and then one task at a time here.
Okay. Let me.
Here, grab your ID for me.
Okay.
Your ID. One task at a time. So let's do an ID, and then you can dig around for your paperwork.
I don't know where my ID is.
You have that stack right there, maybe.
Okay. 1 second.
Just check on her.
Let me get this.
No, we don't need a fire while we're here.
All right. Okay. Let me see. Okay. Where are you going?
Huh?
Where are you going?
Away from your hot steaming water.
Away from my hot steaming water?
Yeah.
Oh, I would rebuke you in the name of Jesus. I'll rebuke you in the name of
You better fucking not. I swear to God, I'll fucking shoot you right in your fucking face.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Drop the fucking pot! Drop the fucking pot! Drop the fucking pot!
19 shots fired.
Shots fired! Shots fired! Drop the fucking pot! Bring EMS now. We got a headshot wound to the female. Headshot wound to the female. 1078. Fuck.
I was on. I'm gonna go get my kit.
No, your headshot, dude. She's done. You can go get it, but that's a headshot. God damn it.
God, fuck.
Dude, I'm not taking fucking boiling water to the fucking head. And look, it fucking came right to our feet, too. God damn it.
Fuck. God damn it.
You good?
I'm good. You good?
Yeah, I'm good. What's she got? Let her fucking just...
God.
Is that what you do, man?
Fuck.
You good? Yeah. Alright. Fuck. Well, I mean, you know, what else do we do? I'm not taking hot boiling water to the fucking face, and it already reached us.
Fuck. They got a 52 en route?
Yeah, 1078.
Sonya Massey's father, James Wilburn, was on CBS Mornings with Gayle King. And he talked about how he found out how his daughter died.
I was never told that it was a deputy-involved shooting. We were under the impression that she was killed by the intruder or some other person from the street or something, and they just went in there and found her dead body. I did not find out that the deputies killed her until my brother asked for Sonya's address, and I gave it to him, and he said, "Brother, this says deputies involved." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" But we were all misled to believe that. And then there was a story that this was self-inflicted, a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Oh, my goodness.
So I think the cover-up started from just right after it happened. And thank God for the body camera footage. It's probably the most horrible and heart-wrenching thing that we've ever seen in our lives. But if it were not for the body cam footage, we would not have known that this occurred. She feared for her life. There was some premonition that she had. And it seems like he was just an emissary of Satan. And that's what caused him to do what he did. It's just unexplainable.
Grayson, the cop who shot and killed her, who murdered her, he's worked for 6 law enforcement agencies in 4 years. He's facing 5 charges, including 3 counts of first-degree murder, aggravated battery with a firearm, and official misconduct. Presiding Circuit Judge Ryan Cadigan said Grayson's callousness during and after the shooting, including not rendering help to Massey, was one of the reasons he ordered Grayson to continue to be detained pre-trial. Joining me now from Atlanta is Rodney Bryant, president of the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives. Rodney, you see that video. You hear this congenial conversation. She is boiling a pot. You hear her talk about rebuke something in the name of Jesus. And this cop just goes crazy. Later, he tries to claim, oh, I don't want to get hit with a pot of boiling. She wasn't even threatening to hit them with the water. What? Just share with what the hell you just watched.
Roland, first of all, thank you for having us on this show. And my prayers go out to the Massey's family. This is once again, we're reviewing a tragic situation that plays out live for our country to see. It's quite disturbing. It's disturbing for any father to be able to see that this could happen to their child. It's disturbing to our community. I've had a number of calls as it relates to this video and the outrage that is being poured out. But again, we're seeing this play out once again, and we can no longer just continue to pray for families. We can no longer just march. There has to be more aggressive action that take place, that we make sure that this stops. We just can't be here again.
I mean, you're watching it, and this sister is just talking, and she called the cops about a prowler. And here's what I don't understand. She called about a prowler. Why in the hell are they inside having this extended conversation and she ends up getting shot in the face?
Yeah. I can't get into, because I don't have all the answers on how they were able to get into the house and why they were able to get in the house. But clearly, the parts that we see on the video appears to be inexcusable. When people are calling for assistance, that is what they're looking for. And there was nothing in this video that we see readily that will give us any indication that this is how this should have turned out.
It was just unbelievable. And I mean, this is the beginning of the video right here. And you know, there are just no words for what we just saw. And this cop absolutely should have been charged with murder.
Yeah, I think attorney in that area did the right thing. They worked speedily to bring the charges, and what the judge is doing as it relates to it from what we're seeing. I think that the system is at this point doing what it's supposed to do, but we'll continue as Noble and other partners, we'll continue to monitor this to make sure that justice is brought for this family and this young lady, Sonya Massey.
Indeed. Rodney, we surely appreciate you joining us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.
I just have no words, Mustafa. I mean, we do these stories over and over and over again. There's a black woman who thought there was a prowler outside of her home. She calls the cops, thinking they're there for protection. They're having this conversation inside. She's boiling some hot water, and this cop gets the impression that she's gonna douse them with hot water. I didn't see any moment in that video where she even attempted to throw the water at them, and they shot her in the face.
I mean, it's hard to watch. But the reality of the situation is that they still don't see us. They don't see us as human. And we need to stop pretending like there are officers that do. Now, that's not to say that there are not some good officers that are out there. We've talked about that before on the show. But people see us as sacrificable. So as you begin to unpack this, you have to ask the question, how is it that this officer worked at 6 different places in 4 years?
Right there, right there, red flag.
And what was the reason why he was, moving around so much? And we know that there are officers who can be bad officers, and they just move over to another place. We've seen it time and time again. We also know that, and I've been a big advocate for this, I've written legislation that I tried to get passed, that we need to actually make sure that there are these psychological evaluations of police officers every 6 months. And that is because it is a hard job, it is a stressful job, but there are also individuals who continue to also have mental health issues, who are carrying a gun and who have the ability to take a life in a second. The other part of it is that sister did nothing to justify his actions. He locked in. And he said, I'm going to shoot you in the face. He said, I'm going to shoot you in the face. That's something that you see on a TV show. You shouldn't be hearing anything even remotely close to that. The other thing is that I grew up on gun ranges. I know that you can shoot somebody in the arm or the leg. You don't have to shoot center mass. You definitely don't have to shoot anybody in the face. This was intentional. He had made a decision to shoot this person in the face, a human being. But he didn't see a human being in front of him. He saw a black woman. He saw a black face and made a decision that he had the right to take her life away. He thought that privilege told him that he could do it. He thought he could do it because he thought that he knew he did not have his camera on, and he was praying that his partner didn't have his camera on. Then the first thing you heard after the shooting was he began to try and reframe the narrative and reframe the story so that psychologically it would be in his partner's head of what just played out, even though his partner saw with his own eyes the assassination of the sister. So we got to understand the game that's going on, and we've got to make some decisions also. So we've been talking about our vote, right? And everybody's excited about, the candidate, Kamala Harris. The question really is, yes, we should be paying attention to that, but we should be paying attention on the local and the county and the state level, the individuals that you're allowing to have this power. And are we actually asking the tough questions of individuals and making sure that they have the right mindset that if we're going to give you our vote, you are also going to do everything in your power to protect our communities, to hold people accountable when they fall short. And if we're not willing to actually do that hard work, we are going to continue to be in these sacrifice zones. We are going to continue to have our lives taken away from us, whether our name is Breonna Taylor, or our name is Eleanor Bumpers, or Alberta Sproul, or Sandra Bland, or we can go on and on and on, because they do not value our lives. So we've got to figure out how we're going to change that paradigm, and a part of that is by holding them accountable. And of course, the other side of it is the side where we have the litigation, but that is too late then, because we have already lost another individual who's a part of our family.
Randy.
This is a heavy one. It almost seemed as if he came in to kill. He was aggressive with her from the minute he walked in. He treated her as an enemy from the minute he walked into the door. She called them to get help. So I don't know why she immediately was being questioned as if she were the criminal. And that's the problem. I believe that we are seen as criminals and viewed suspiciously from the moment that some of them are around us. We talked about DEI. The DEI was always created to manage or to balance out the privilege that white men receive. Here you have a white man who's been able to go to 6 different police departments in 4 years. Tell me who else could do that. Tell me who else who clearly was unsuccessful doing their job, that they had to leave 6 times in 4 years, that can continue to have a job, particularly a job that is as sensitive as being a police officer is, because we see that allowing something like this to happen can be dangerous, can be fatal. I'm sick to death of having these conversations all of the time about us losing innocent Black people, particularly Black people who are calling simply for help. This woman, they found the car. The car had 2 broken windows. Clearly, here she was the victim already, and then to secondly, again, be victimized by the very people that she was trying to get help from. My heart goes out to the Massey family. I cannot imagine what they must be feeling right now, because we're all hurting. We're all hurting when we see something like this happen. And that change has got to come. Change has got to come.
Joy.
Yeah, no, the change does have to come. And on that, I mean, we could have had the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, right? And that is one of the unfinished items from this administration, from these last 2 congressional sessions. And it's what we're going to have to fight for. It's what's on the ballot. We have to make sure we are holding police departments and states accountable for what happens with their police officers. It's not about training. This wasn't about training. This is about the fact that you can have a rogue person on the force moving from place to place. We'll find out more about him. And I guarantee there will be red flags that suggested he shouldn't have been out there with a badge and a gun to begin with, right? He shouldn't have even been in this position of power. But we're also going to find that no matter what we do in terms of training and policies, et cetera, that's important. But it's almost too late. You have to also have the right type of people on the force. You have to have the ability to get rid of the people who are the wrong types of people. And you have to give people an internal calculus. If I do this, they're going to be able to sue my family and not just take my future, but the future of my family, because I'm not going to be immune from my behavior on the force. We have to make it so that they see the cost of behaving like this, that this kind of OK Corral cowboy without regard for human life is not acceptable. And their family members have to put pressure on them to say, don't be this person. Don't be this person. You can ruin our entire lives. We have to change the calculus, because it's not enough for us to just count on somebody not being a good cop, taking matters into their own hands, exaggerating, hoping people don't have their camera on, forgetting that people have their camera on. That happens too. Just deciding that they can say whatever. And so, we are so excited about the potential of a President Harris. But whether it's a President Harris or a President Trump, we must hold our politicians accountable for getting this under control. It is 2024. We have had a Black president. We are on the cusp, hopefully, of the first Black female president. We cannot have Black women and Black men killed in their own home, holding boiling water, a threat to no one, and have two cops seek on camera to try to fix things up. It's just unacceptable. Time's up on that. That ends now. And we've got to hold our politicians accountable for making it so, Democrat and Republican.
President Joe Biden released a statement regarding the murder of Massey. This is what he said. Sonya Massey, a beloved mother, friend, daughter, and young Black woman should be alive today. Sonya called the police because she was concerned about a potential intruder. When we call for help, all of us as Americans, regardless of who we are or where we live, should be able to do so without fearing for our lives. Sonya's death at the hands of a responding officer reminds us that all too often Black Americans face fears for their safety in ways many of the rest of us do not. Sonya's family deserves justice. I am heartbroken for her children and her entire family as they face this unthinkable and senseless loss. Jill and I mourn with the rest of the country, and our prayers are with Sonya's family, loved ones, and community during this devastating time. I commend the swift actions that were taken by the Springfield State's Attorney's Office. While we wait for the case to be prosecuted, let us pray to comfort the grieving. Congress must pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act now. Our fundamental commitment to justice is at stake. Vice President Kamala Harris also released a statement regarding the death of Massey. This is what the Vice President had to say. Sonya Massey deserved to be safe. After she called the police for help, she was tragically killed in her own home at the hands of a responding officer sworn to protect and serve. Doug and I send strength and prayers to Sonya's family and friends, and we join them in grieving her senseless death. Our thoughts are also with the communities across our nation whose calls for help are often met with suspicion, distrust, and even violence. The disturbing footage released yesterday confirms what we know from the lived experiences of so many. We have much work to do to ensure that our justice system fully lives up to its name. I join President Biden in commending the swift action of the state's attorney's office and calling for in calling on Congress to pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, a bill that I co-authored in the Senate. In this moment, in honor of Sonya's memory and the memory of so many more whose names we may never know, we must come together to achieve meaningful reforms that advance the safety of all communities. Got to go to a break. We'll be right back.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shooting.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate Black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Next on The Black Table with me, Greg Carr, we welcome the Black Star Network's very own Roland Martin, who joins us to talk about his new book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. The book explains so much about what we're going through in this country right now, and how, as white people head toward becoming a racial minority, it's going to get, well, let's just say even more interesting.
We are going to see more violence. We're going to see more vitriol, because as each day passes, it is a nail in that coffin.
The one and only Roland Martin on the next Black Table, right here on the Black Star Network.
Curl Prep Natural Hair Solutions at curlprep.com.
I'm in shock.
For curls, locks, braids, twists, and even those wigs and extensions. Women, men, and children are loving this line. Look at this video and you be the judge. People line up to see this product in action at hair shows, and when they take a seat and try it, they don't believe it's their hair. Buy the products at curlprep.com. It works on all hair types. Use code ROLAND, that's ROLAND, lowercase letters, to get a 15% discount. Parents, remove the ouch. You will love this system because you can comb the product through your child's hair with your fingers. It's all at curlprep.com. Use code ROLAND, lowercase letters, to get a 15% discount.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
Good job, good pay, good life. Would you be willing to walk away from it to achieve real wealth? Well, that's exactly what this woman did, and boy, did it pay off.
Once you make the decision that this is the direction that you're going to go in, I do believe that there's power in having a decided heart.
Hear her story on The Next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, on Black Star Network.
This is Essence Atkins.
Mr. Love King of R&B, Raheem Devon.
It's me, Sherry Shepard, and you know what you watch.
You're watching Roland Martin, Unfiltered.
All right, folks, welcome back. At the top of the show, we were talking about, again, these Republicans and how their use of DEI. And thank God you have some Republicans who have honor, integrity, ethics, morals, values, and principles. One of them is Lisa Murkowski, the United States Senator from Alaska. Now, she don't like Donald Trump. She's made it clear Donald Trump should not be at all running. Should be the Republican nominee, and she's talked about that. So on this whole DEI issue, go to my iPad. So she was asked about this here. Murkowski on calling Kamala Harris a DEI hire. Of course it's not appropriate, for heaven's sake. What? Are they just gonna say, if you're not a white male, it's a DEI candidate? I'm sorry, no. That right there was the point, Randy, that I was making earlier. That, and people gotta stop sitting here, dancing around, not really wanna call them out. No, they gotta say, so white boys ain't DEI? When the white boys hire white boys, that ain't DEI? That's how y'all want to roll? See, I'm not going to play their game when it comes to DEI. I'm going to call their asses out. I'm going to talk about when the book, when affirmative action was white. I'm going to sit here and say, was it DEI when we chose like 102 straight white male Supreme Court justices? See, this is when I criticized Bernie Sanders about his criticism of identity politics, when I criticized Bill Maher about the same thing, they always want to criticize identity politics, and it never involves white men.
Right. because they are the standard in their minds and in the way this world has set up. White men are the standard, and anything different is DEI, or we should question if they have the right qualifications. Whereas because they're just accepted, white men, we never question their qualifications. We never question when they're in power. It's fascinating to me that we can have all, president after president of companies and this country be white males, almost across the board. And we never question if that's the right thing, the fair thing, the deserving thing. But the minute that someone who is not white and male is considered, that person's a DEI. That person is not qualified. We are making exceptions for that person. Again, what I just said is that DEI was there really honestly to somehow balance out the privilege that white men have in this country and that white women have also benefited from to a certain extent. It was there to balance it out. And white men have shown themselves to be so incredibly greedy that although they still run almost everything, they are upset, will raise hell anytime anyone else is given a chance, regardless of how qualified they are. I mean, the reason why I call myself the DEI disruptor is here I have worked in this field for so long, and I was disgusted at the way that the term that the field was being characterized. So I had to say, I'm going to disrupt this. I am, like you, Roland, going to call people out. That's absolutely a major insult to anyone to say the only way that this person is in the place that they are is because we're doing them a favor, because it's charity, because that person just happens to be Black. How do you look at someone with a record like our vice president and say, well, she's only there because she was Black and a woman? It is one thing to say we are looking for diversity because it's the best thing for a team and still have overly qualified candidates, but they don't want us to believe that. And here they are, white men who have gotten major positions, they get most of the positions, and no one questions it. And what I really have been talking to my brothers and sisters about is we need to think about how our own minds are colonized. Because when I hear us say, but can a Black woman do this? Or are we ready? Or all these things, that means that it's our own programming. So to have that way of thinking, to think that we can't do it, or we shouldn't do it, or America's not ready for us to do it, just shows that we have been programmed. And so part of this process, part of this disruption is honestly working on ourselves too, and saying we reject the idea that the only way that we earn anything is because of our race or because of our gender, because we know factually that is absolutely a lie. There's nothing that indicates that we have been given any favors in this country.
Joy.
Amen, sister. I want to echo those remarks. That is absolutely correct. I mean, Murkowski, it's funny, I had just posted that on social. I was multitasking. We've had so many presidents of the United States, and they've all been white, with the exception of one, right? Is that not a DEI candidate? I mean, why aren't we saying this? And I'm going to be honest, back to our original thing about our white sisters. Many of you guys are going to be hearing it. I have a friend who's already shared with me that she's hearing from people who have been challenging her with this DEI statement. And she was at a loss on how to respond to it. And we have to give them the tools. They need to discover the tools themselves. Lisa Murkowski got it immediately. Use her talking points. Is it that every time it's not a white man, it's a DEI candidate? Find a new trope, a new slogan. We're done with that. And honestly, I think most people are done with that. I think when you saw the congressman earlier make the statement about Kamala Harris being a DEI candidate, you saw Mike Johnson immediately respond when he was asked about it. He walked away from that. He said, no, we won't be talking about, any of that, any DEI candidate. Why? Because he knows, he's done the math, he's seen the internals, and he understands that those messages do not work, including with moderate voters who they will absolutely need in order to win. They needed it if it was Biden, and they are definitely going to need it with Kamala Harris. He cannot win that way.
Mustafa.
I mean, we know that the system has never been set up for us. They know that. And when anytime we move into a space that is either a new space or a space that we're coming back into, they send a very clear signal that you're not welcome here. You're not welcome here because we don't want to have to compete with you, because we understand the excellence that exists inside of your people, and that if we give you a fair chance, then we probably will be shown that our game is not as tight as it needs to be to hold the levels and positions that we have. DEI has always benefited white folks. I mean, I can give you 100 different examples in policy, going all the way back to the Homestead Act, where we said, white folks, why don't you come on across the country? We're going to give you all this land. And we said to other folks, you can't be in this space because we're going to allow our folks to build wealth and strengthen the economy of the United States. The GI Bill, also brothers who went and fought in foreign lands and came back, and people told them, yeah, no, this is not really for you. But we want to make sure that white folks have the opportunity to get educated. So, you know, there is a long history of how DEI has actually benefited white folks and continued to keep us off on the sidelines. But then we flipped the script. And when we flipped the script, that's when they got nervous. And the reason that they're nervous right now is, once again, because they know that excellence that exists inside of us, and that we are no longer willing to accept the status quo. We're going to make sure that we get what is due to us. We pay taxes, an incredible amount of taxes. We're going to get the money, and we're going to get the positions. And if you can't deal with it, get the hell out the way.
All right, then, folks, we're going to do a real quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to hear Vice President Kamala Harris' speech today to Democrats. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
Hi, I am Tommy Davidson. I play Oscar on Proud Family, Louder and Prouder. I don't play Sammy, but I could. Or I don't play Obama, but I could. I don't do Stallone, but I could do all that. And I am here with Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Wisconsin. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. It is good to be back. Thank you all very much. Can we please hear it for Leah and her extraordinary story and leadership? Thank you. And I do believe our teachers do God's work. They teach other people's children, and God knows we don't pay them enough. Let's thank her. And it is so good to be here and be back with so many extraordinary leaders, including my friend, the great governor of Wisconsin, Tony Evers. He's here somewhere. My dear friend, Senator Tammy Baldwin. And you know, I had the privilege of serving with Tammy when I was in the United States Senate, and she is always fighting for the people of this state. And I know that the folks that are here are going to make sure you return her to Washington, D.C. in November. Yes, we are going to elect her back to Washington, D.C. It is so good to be here also with Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez, Attorney General Josh Cole, Wisconsin Secretary of State Sarah Godlewski, County Executive David Crowley, Mayor Cavalier Johnson, and the great State Party Chair Ben Wickler, who I have have been working together for years, and I can attest he knows how to build the infrastructure that delivers wins up and down the ballot. Thank you, Ben. So it is good to be back in Wisconsin, and it is great to be in Milwaukee. As many of you know, our state campaign headquarters are in this city. Yes, and there is a reason for that. The path to the White House goes through Wisconsin. Yes, it does. And to win in Wisconsin, we are counting on you right here in Milwaukee. And you all helped us win in 2020. And in 2024, we will win again. Yes, we will. So, Milwaukee, I want to start by saying a few words, and I could really speak at length, but a few words about our incredible President Joe Biden. It has truly been one of the greatest honors of my life to serve as Vice President to our President Joe Biden. Joe's legacy of accomplishment over his entire career and over the past 3.5 years is unmatched in modern history. In one term, think about it, in one term as president, he has already surpassed the legacy of most presidents who served 2 terms in office. And I know we are all deeply, deeply grateful for his continuing service to our nation. And it is my great honor to have Joe Biden's endorsement in this race. So, Wisconsin, I am told as of this morning that we have earned the support of enough delegates to secure the Democratic nomination. And I am so very honored, and I pledge to you I will spend the coming weeks continuing to unite our party so that we are ready to win in November. So, friends, we have 105 days until Election Day, and in that time, we've got some work to do. But we're not afraid of hard work. We like hard work, don't we? And we will win this election. Yes, we will. So as Leah told you, before I was elected Vice President, before I was elected United States Senator, I was elected Attorney General of the state of California, and I was a courtroom prosecutor before then. And in those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women, fraudsters who ripped off consumers, cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type. I promise you, I will proudly put my record against his any day of the week. As Attorney General of California, I took on one of our country's largest for-profit colleges that was scamming students. Donald Trump ran a for-profit college that scammed students. As a prosecutor, I specialized in cases involving sexual abuse. Well, Trump was found liable for committing sexual abuse. As Attorney General of California, I took on the big Wall Street banks and held them accountable for fraud. Donald Trump was just found guilty of fraud on 34 counts. But let's also make no mistake, this campaign is not just about us versus Donald Trump. This campaign is about who we fight for. This is about who we fight for. Just look at how we are running our campaigns. So Donald Trump is relying on support from billionaires and big corporations. And he is trading access in exchange for campaign contributions. A couple months ago, y'all saw that a couple months ago at Mar-a-Lago, he literally promised big oil companies, big oil lobbyists, he would do their bidding for $1 billion in campaign donations. On the other hand, we are running a people-powered campaign. And we just had some breaking news. We just had the best 24 hours of grassroots fundraising in presidential campaign history. All right? And because we are a people-powered campaign, that is how you know we will be a people-first presidency. In Wisconsin, this campaign is also about two different visions for our nation. One, where we are focused on the future. The other, focused on the past. We believe in a future where every person has the opportunity not just to get by, but to get ahead. A future where no child has to grow up in poverty. Where every worker has the freedom to join a union. Where every person has affordable health care, affordable child care, and paid family leave. We believe in a future where every senior can retire with dignity. So all of this is to say, building up the middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency. Because here's the thing we all here, Wisconsin, know. When our middle class is strong, America is strong. But Donald Trump wants to take our country backward. He and his extreme Project 2025 agenda will weaken the middle class. Like, we know we got to take this seriously. Can you believe they put that thing in writing? Read it. It's 900 pages. But here's the thing. When you read it, you will see Donald Trump intends to cut Social Security and Medicare. He intends to give tax breaks to billionaires and big corporations and make working families foot the bill. They intend to end the Affordable Care Act and take us back then to a time when insurance companies had the power to deny people with pre-existing conditions. Remember what that was like? Children with asthma, women who survived breast cancer, grandparents with diabetes. America has tried these failed economic policies before, but we are not going back. We are not going back. We're not going back. We're not going back. We are not going back. We're not going back. We're not going back. And I'll tell you why we're not going back. Because ours is a fight for the future. And it is a fight for freedom. Generations of America's, generations, and we have to remember this, the shoulders on which we stand, generations of Americans before us led the fight for freedom. And now, Wisconsin, the baton is in our hands. We, who believe in the sacred freedom to vote, will make sure every American has the ability to cast their ballot and have it counted. We, who believe that every person in our nation who should have the freedom to live safe from the terror of gun violence, will finally pass red flag laws, universal background checks, and an assault weapons ban. And we, who believe in reproductive freedom, will stop Donald Trump's extreme abortion bans because we trust women to make decisions about their own body and not have their government tell them what to do. And when Congress passes a law to restore reproductive freedoms, as President of the United States, I will sign it into law. So, Wisconsin, ultimately in this election, we each face a question. What kind of country do we want to live in? A country and to your point, do we want to live in a country of freedom, compassion, and rule of law? Or a country of chaos, fear, and hate? And here's the beauty of this moment. We each have the power to answer that question. The power is with the people. We each have the power to answer that question. And in the next 105 days, then we have work to do. We have doors to knock on, we have phone calls to make, we have voters to register, and we have an election to win. So, Wisconsin, today I ask you, are you ready to get to work? Do we believe in freedom? Do we believe in opportunity? Do we believe in the promise of America? And are we ready to fight for it? And when we fight, we win. God bless you. God
President Joe Biden has made the selfless decision to pass the torch to Vice President Kamala Harris, who is ready, willing, and able to lead us into the future. Kamala Harris and her candidacy has excited and energized the House Democratic Caucus, the Democratic Party, and the nation. Vice President Harris has earned the nomination from the grassroots up and not the top down. She is ready, she is willing, she is able to energetically and emphatically lead America into the future. Kamala Harris is a common sense leader who knows how to deliver real results for hardworking American taxpayers. Kamala Harris is a courageous leader who has worked hard throughout her entire career to keep our communities safe. Kamala Harris is a compassionate leader who will build an affordable economy that makes life better for everyday Americans. Kamala Harris will fight for our freedom. Kamala Harris will fight for our families. Kamala Harris will fight for our future. I'm proud to strongly endorse Kamala Harris to be the 47th President of the United States of America. We're going to hold the Senate. We're going to win the House. We're going to elect Kamala Harris as our next president in November.
President Biden's selfless decision has given the Democratic Party the opportunity to unite behind a new nominee, and boy, oh boy, are we enthusiastic. Since President Biden's announcement, we've seen the Democratic Party swiftly coalesce behind Vice President Kamala Harris. When I spoke with her Sunday, she said she wanted the opportunity to win the nomination on her own, and to do so from the grassroots up, not top down. We deeply respected that, Hakeem and I did. She said she would work to earn the support of our party, and boy, has she done so in quick order. Vice President Harris has done a truly impressive job securing the majority of delegates needed to win the Democratic Party's nomination to be our next president of the United States. The vast majority of my senators quickly and enthusiastically endorsed her. So now that the process has played out, from the grassroots bottom up, we are here today to throw our support behind Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm clapping. You don't have to. It's a happy day. What can I say? Together, we will keep and hopefully grow the Senate majority. And under future Speaker Hakeem Jeffries, we will win back the House. Democrats are moving forward stronger and more united than ever before. In just the last 36 hours, I have seen a surge of enthusiasm from every corner of our party, uniting behind Vice President Harris. An enthusiasm felt in every corner of the country, and it's contagious among Democrats. The volunteers, the small contributions, they're just pouring in ways even beyond our expectations. Now, we all know that Vice President Harris has a tremendous record to run on. And now begins the next chapter in our quest to make sure Donald Trump does not become president. Today, with one voice, we speak about the dangers he presents to working families, to our country, and to our democracy. We see very clearly how nervous the Republicans are about our new nominee. Well, they ain't seen nothing yet. Last night, Vice President Harris secured a majority of delegates. Today, in Wisconsin and across America, we begin our next chapter, and it will be our best yet. Vice President Harris will beat Donald Trump and become the next president of the United States.
All right, so Randy, Mustafa, and Joy. Is it me, or did I pick up on some audience shade? He thought they were gonna clap, and the audience was like, yeah, we know what y'all did to Joe Biden, but we ain't clapping on you. Am I the only one who picked up on that? Any one of y'all picked up on that?
The silence said a lot. The silence was deafening. There was definitely a little shade.
Y'all can clap. And nervous laughter. They were like, when you done and when she coming out? Mustafa, but Mustafa, what did you think? Because I was just sitting there cracking up because the audience kind of like, yeah, all right, come on.
I think the folks in the audience are like a lot of folks across the country said, we're going to take it from here because we're not going to allow any games. We know the games that are often played on Capitol Hill, and we're going to make sure that we are very clear about our commitment and what our set of expectations are, and we're not going to let y'all muddy it up. So that's where the silence was letting you know you don't have as much power as you think you do, and that we are reclaiming our power. I'm impressed with the energy that's going on and that people are getting engaged and saying, I'm going to give you my vote, I'm going to give you my money, but I'm also going to show up and I'm also going to make sure that there's accountability in the process. And I know Kamala Harris well enough that she appreciates that people are also going to hold her accountable for the things that she says that she's going to do. But folks are also going to make sure that she has the support around her that's necessary. And that means that we're going to vote on the state level, the county level, on the local level, and to make sure that all these various pieces that we often forget about or often don't get the attention that they deserve are going to be rectified this time so that everybody can make sure that no one is left behind, as we often say.
Roland, I'm going to throw my own shade. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, we got you.
But, yeah, when I saw George Clooney come out tonight saying that he endorsed Vice President Harris, I said, oh, that's nice. That's nice. But we will never forget how they treated Joe Biden, the public nasty way in which they went about this so-called party insiders, donors, et cetera. That was offensive to people. So, yeah, we're very excited about Vice President Harris, but we can also feel that the way they put our party in a tailspin with their public, hand-wringing and public backstabbing, et cetera, of Joe Biden was also wrong. Both things can be true. And I know that's a controversial view. I believe that we are in the right place, but I can also feel that there's a way you do things and the way you don't. And so I think there are many people in that position. And what this revealed is we actually don't enjoy the sausage making. We don't enjoy these donors. We don't enjoy these so-called party insiders. And you know what? If Joe Biden has to focus on the presidency and retire his candidacy, he shouldn't be the only one. He shouldn't be the only one. Really, time's up for all of that. And Vice President Harris is really focused on the people, hearkening back to her original campaign strategy for the people, the grassroots donors, the grassroots delegates. That's who's putting her over the edge, not these super delegates.
Well, guess what? The one person, remember he called for an open convention? Boy, anybody notice President Obama, the last one standing? Because Nancy, Chuck, Hakeem, everybody, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, all her potential rivals, everybody done endorse her except Obama.
Bueller? Bueller? For those old enough to remember?
I'm just saying.
Barry?
I'm just saying. You look kind of on a lonely island. All right, y'all, that's it. Let me thank Joy. Let me thank Mustafa. Let me thank Randy. I appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Let me thank all of you for watching as well. While we were playing the Vice President Kamala Harris segment, I actually was live on Joy and Reed show, The Readout, And so y'all can check that out. We'll restream that segment a little bit later. Y'all know I had a few things to say, so we'll do that. So y'all be well. Hey, support us in what we do. Join the Bring the Funk fan club. Send your check and money order, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal or Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And so that's how you can support us. And of course, download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. And lastly, be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, available at bookstores nationwide. Y'all be well. Talk to y'all tomorrow. Holla! Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?